This is the loot from the first Torment 4 Beast and Ice kill of 100 in Season 8. There was nothing, and you should have expected nothing on the very first kill. But finding a 4-star Fists of Fate here would be awesome, and this is the boss to get it. In doing a Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Vex Rune. On run 21, we have a Belial spawn. Does he drop a Mythic unique? No. We find a 1-star Fists of Fate. The number of uniques that had exactly 1 greater affix from both Beast and Ice and Belial was 50 uniques. When doing a Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Yule rune. The slowest time it took me to do a Nightmare Dungeon was 12 minutes and 17 seconds. While doing more Nightmare Dungeons, we find a 3-star Ramamamamamamamamamagnes Magnum Opus. Oh, not bad. On a different Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Lith rune. Oh, Lith rune. The fastest time it took me to do a Nightmare Dungeon was 2 minutes and 11 seconds. In a different Nightmare Dungeon, we find another Lith rune. While doing a Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Nagu rune. Nagu rune, baby! The average time it took me to do a Nightmare Dungeon was 4 minutes and 17 seconds. On run 36, we find an Ohm rune. On run 52, we have a Belial spawn. Does he drop a Mythic unique? No. We find a 1-star Endurant Faith. Also, a 1-star Unbroken Chain. The most amount of consecutive runs where Belial did not spawn was 22 runs in a row. On run 57, we have a Belial spawn. Does he drop a Mythic unique? No. We find 1-star Pain Gorgers. Also, a 1-star Fist of Fate. While doing a Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Lith rune. Ooh, a Lith rune. Ah, yeah, baby! In a different Nightmare Dungeon, we find a 2-star Legendary Axe. Wait, hold on. Oh, wow. The total time it took me to do 192 Nightmare Dungeons was 14 hours and 32 seconds. In a different Nightmare Dungeon, we find a Zal rune. The number of legendary runes that dropped over the 100 runs was 1 legendary rune, and I found 7 more in Nightmare Dungeons. On run 64, we have a Belial spawn. Does he drop a Mythic unique? No. We find a 2-star Hellhammer. But wait, it's a double offer! A 1-star Hellhammer. Also, a 1-star Mantle of Mountain's Fury. On run 65, we find a Mythic unique. Ho ho ho! A 1-star Melted Heart. The purples! On run 70, we find a 2-star Mantle of Mountain's Fury. The amount of runs where both Beast and Ice and Belial dropped loot with no greater affixes at all was 62 runs. On run 72, we find a Mythic unique. Ho ho ho! A 1-star Melted Heart. Mythic, baby! Damn! Also, a 1-star Fields of Crimson. On run 99, we find a 2-star Tacets of the Dawning Sky. On run 100, the final run, do we get a Belial spawn? No. There was nothing. And you should have expected nothing on the very last kill. The amount of times where Belial spawned in the 100 runs was 11 times. 2 mythic uniques from the Beast and Ice and Belial. Pretty not bad, but no 4-star Fist of Fate.